the flyweight bout, we had Shevchenko versus Santos. I felt in the previously that I think Santos, she had really strong grappling, so maybe she could hold Shevchenko down for do kind of what Aljamain Sterling did to Piotr Jan, is what I said. I think she could do that, but I didn't really think she would. I felt Shevchenko would get her down eventually and kind of just ground and pound her, but wasn't the case. First round wasn't much. Shevchenko kind of filling her out, and then she obviously made a mistake. I think she tried to get the takedown, and then Santos kind of got her back and took her down and kept her there for quite a while for the round. A lot of that round, and I think, again, it was similar to Aljamain Sterling and Piotr Jan. Aljamain Sterling kind of was able to take Piotr Jan there and keep him there for a while, and there is something to be said about that. So, and she a few times almost had the rear naked choke as well, Santos. And then in the second round, she did the same thing, but the second round was a lot closer. I think Shevchenko got her down with a hit for her at one point and was actually landing the more damaging shots, even though she was at the bottom, because Santos really wasn't landing any kind of ground and pound. Even like the moments where she could have had her back with a rear naked, she wasn't really doing much. She didn't really have about that much in the second, to be fair. So I think you could give the first is definitely Santos, because she had her down for one, and that was the bigger moments in that round. And in the second round, I think it could go the other way. And I think Shevchenko did land quite a few shots on the ground, and she was advancing, and she did get it down. So there is that to be said. And then in the third round, same thing happened again, where Santos was able to get her down, and she did take the back of Shevchenko, which that round I think was the clearest to Santos. The first was pretty clear, but that one was 100% hers. And the major consensus is that Shevchenko was 3 down at that point, and I kind of did feel that. In the fourth round, Santos's eye got really swollen. I think it was from a head clash, but Shevchenko obviously isn't a dirty fight. It was just, the orthodox southpaw. They do tend to clash eggs, and their feet do get muddled up a little bit. It happens a lot in boxing as well. Happened with Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao, I remember, where those two kept clashing heads. And people say, Jeff Horn was dirty, but it was literally, sometimes when you're facing the opposite stance, it does happen a lot. But yeah, fourth round was definitely Shevchenko. She decided not to go to the ground as much. She started to do it on the feet, and she was landing a lot of good shots. And just lit her up on the feet. On the feet, it wasn't close. It was when it went to the ground. It's where it became very awkward and tricky for her. And then the fifth round, same thing. In the fifth round, she did take her down and was able to keep her there for quite a bit. But still, Santos was very strong. And she was, every time Shevchenko got her down, she was able to get back up to her feet pretty quickly. So, and at the end of the fight, I kind of felt like Santos maybe did have it. It reminded me a lot of the Holloway-Volkanovski fight, but in the Holloway-Volkanovski fight, I always gave the third round to Volkanovski, and then I also gave him the fourth and the fifth, which everybody seems to give Holloway the first two and Volkanovski the last two, so it depends how you score the third. And in this fight, I think you can give 1 and 3 100% to Santos, and I think you can give 4 and 5 to Shevchenko. So it's how you score the second, I believe. And the second round, even though I think at the time I did score it to Santos, I could see a world where you give it to Shevchenko. So I wasn't mad decision either way. A draw maybe. I don't think it would have been a draw. It would have to be something crazy for that to happen. But yeah, it's not a robbery. People love to. I think people need to really learn what the definition of a robbery is. It cannot be a close fight and be a robbery. Shevchenko clearly won 2 rounds in that fight. No matter what you say. Santos then would win 1 more, and the 1 round that she could have won, which would be the second, was a very, very close round. One judge, I think, scored it, 49-46, which was ridiculous, but which obviously would mean that Shevchenko won 4 rounds, which I do not know. Alright, 2, 4 and 5. I don't know where in 1 and 3 you give it to, maybe 1, but even she didn't really do much in 1 either. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. But Shevchenko gets it done. I'd like to see a rematch. To be fair, it reminded me a little bit of the Thiago Santos John Jones fight, where it was a bit dicey in there, but I think Jones did enough to get it done. The same with Shevchenko here. I'm not mad at the decision. I think it was close, and it could have gone either way. A robbery. You can't be a robbery and have a close fight. It completely contradicts the whole thing in fighting. A robbery is when there is a clear winner and they give it to the other fighter. Wilder Fury. Fury clearly won the first, in my opinion, but they gave it a draw. You know, you have fights. What's another? Alright, he lost the fight, but Canelo Mayweather clearly beat Canelo, but one judge gave it a draw. That's where robbery comes in. There is no robbery if it's a close fight. It doesn't make sense. So it wasn't a robbery. I don't care what nobody says. It was not a robbery. It was a close fight, and Shevchenko got the decision. And I think it was, again, not correct or incorrect. It was possibly, again, it could have gone either way. I would have said it's correct for either side. I wouldn't be mad either way. Both did well. I do think Shevchenko did more damage in the fight out of the two, and Santos was very much not laying in prey, but was kind of very much just trying to control her, not really advance or do anything. A little bit like what Kamaru Usman used to do, but with Usman it's different. He just try to take you down, just trying to advance, and he's not active with the ground and pound. Same with Santos. She didn't really learn any ground and pound in this fight, to be honest, at all. It was very much just controlling her, and depends if you score control over damage or damage over control. To me, I think if it's clearly one-sided control, you do it then. But if it's damage, I think you've always got to score damage over control, to be honest. They're in a fight at the end of the day. That is the whole point of it. So, yeah, but a good win for Shevchenko. And I'd like to see this again, to be honest. But who knows? Maybe we see her and Miesha Tate in there. Maybe we could see this again. I don't know. I don't mind either way. I think for Shevchenko, there's not many fighters in the division for her to really... There aren't that many contenders who are clearly there at the moment. So, yeah, maybe her and Miesha Tate would be two legends of the sport going at it. So I'd love to see that. So, yeah, a good win for Shevchenko. For Santos, she definitely pushed Valentina the closest that she'd ever been pushed before in this division. And I do think, again, love Valentina, but I don't think you can't really give her 4 rounds. So that was a joke. But I do think Santos, she could have a claim to win this fight, but... Yeah, I do think that Shevchenko, though, did do enough. I could definitely say more, but that was the case. So, yeah, great performance from her, and Santos enough to be ashamed about. She put in a brilliant performance. So, yeah, a very good fight, though, considering I thought it'd be one-sided, but it was very competitive. And Shevchenko did fight in the last two. Like, she really had to win or try and stop her or do something. So, just show you, not many people can do that to Shevchenko. So, like I said, credit to Santos, and she's definitely a real... serious problem in this division, and her records, like I said, was really good. I think this is only the second fight she's lost in her career, so it shows you that she definitely is a no joke. And yeah, a really great fight though for the co-main. And getting into the main event and for the light heavyweight belt, Glover Teixeira and Jiri Prochazka. I said before I felt Jiri Prochazka would KO Glover in the first two, and he had moments where he was being successful, but then Glover did get him down quite a few times. I don't know why I actually scored. I think going into the fifth, I had it 2-2. I can't remember completely. But the first, Glover was able to take him down and do enough damage. And then in the second, he really did sort of come back and land a few shots, had him hurt a few times in the fight. And yeah, as the fight kind of wore on every single time, Glover, there were many moments in that fight in the last few where it looked like Glover was completely done, but then he just kept coming back, and it was like every single time one of them looked like they were done, the other would come back. You know, Glover did land a lot of good ground and pound, and that's the difference with the Santos. If you go back to Shevchenko, Santos did not land any real ground and pound, whereas Teixeira did on Prochazka. So, yeah, great performance from both of them. Obviously, in the end, Prochazka did get the rear naked choke in the fifth. I think it was just because Glover was so tired, and I think it was backup has been saying that, or might have been DC, I don't know, who said that when you're tired, sometimes you just tap out of exhaustion. So it was, even though, like I said, they were both swinging, a real fantastic fight. Every time it looked like it was one way, the other would come back. So it was very much a back and forth. And Glover, what can you say? 42, he hung in there. More than hung in there. He might actually was winning the fight, I think, up to the point where the stoppage came. So, legend, man. Like I said before, Hall of Fame, 100%. He's a hell of a fighter. And, again, close. I had him at a few moments, almost had Prochazka in trouble, had him beating up with the ground and pound. And for Prochazka, he was throwing a lot of winging shots and was gassing out at points, but was still able to hang in there. But just in the fifth round, I was able to get Glover's back and was able to sink in the rear naked choke, which I don't think anybody expected him to tap Glover out, but shows you how unpredictable this sport can be. So, it's a very surprising result in that sense, and especially with Glover's jiu-jitsu. Glover's jiu-jitsu is so good, and the amount of times he was able just to keep Prohaska down. Prohaska, to his credit, was able to... there were moments where he looked like he was almost stuck, and he was able to get up. I think even a few times Prohaska was even able to get Glover down, but again, there's it's one of them fights where it pretty much almost every level of martial art was in there. Prohaska ate a lot of left hands from Glover as well, a lot of shots from Glover. Glover has a very good left hook, and he was landing it quite a few times. He also was landing that sort of winging right hand around the guard of Prohaska. So, brilliant points from both. But yeah, like I said, Prohaska did get the submission up in the fifth. It was a very close fight up in that point, but he was able to get the hook in, and once he got the hook in, it was like a little bit like how Glover tapped out Blachowicz, to be honest. He kind of tapped very quickly, and I think, like I said, it was just a tap out of exhaustion. So, but it happened. So it was a brilliant fight. They were both, I think, absolutely knackered and beat up at the end of it. So credit to both, though. It was an amazing fight, an amazing main event as well. Like I said, for a card that wasn't fantastic, but I think that fight definitely lived up to it and was an unbelievable war, a fantastic scrap, and yeah, an incredible fight for a division that hasn't really got much excitement going on in it. So yeah, amazing to watch, and credit to both men. They really put it all in there, and I think for Glover, he should retire now. I don't think like I said with Joanna, so you want to retire at the right moment. What else is a better moment? You literally went almost life and death with a man who is, I think, definitely the best light heavyweight out there at the moment, and almost won. That's another thing. Glover did make a mistake when he had Prohaska hurt at points of almost going for the takedown. He kept doing it, and I think that's what cost him the fight at the fifth. He had him hurt, and for some reason decided to go for the takedown instead of actually trying to pursue him on the feet. And I get it. Sometimes it happens with grapplers. When they hurt you, they kind of want to get you down as the safety option, but just go for it, man. If you got him hurt, what you got to lose? So yeah, I didn't understand that. It was a weird decision from Glover. He could have won the fight easily. I think he had the fight there in the fifth. I thought he was winning the fight up until that point. Did have it 2-2 going into the fifth, but I did have him winning majority of that fifth round. But unfortunately, he made the mistake of trying to go for the takedown instead of trying to pursue the KO, and I think that's what cost him in the end. But regardless, there was like I said, a brilliant fight and a brilliant main event, and I'd like to see Prohaska now against Blachowicz next. I think that would be the fight that makes sense and would be an exciting one. Two savages in there, two very hard men. So I'd love to see that fight. I think that would be an absolute war, and be interesting to see, because they're both kind of... I think Prohaska's a bit of a lunatic anyway, but I think is he Croatian, Prohaska? No, he's Czech. That's what it was. So I think, and obviously Blachowicz being Polish, they kind of both got that warrior instinct in them. So yeah, that would be an amazing fight, and yeah, like I said, pretty decent card in general. Nothing amazing to shout about, but not bad either. It wasn't an exciting card really. Like I said, the next card, the UFC 276 card, I think is definitely going to be the one that people are obviously going to be looking out for, with Adesanya and Cannonier and Holloway, Volkanovski, and all the other fights on that card. So yeah, but an amazing card, a good card though still, this one. And yeah, I don't know, I think the main events was an amazing main event. I don't know where I'd rank it in terms of all the main events this year in the UFC, but it's definitely up there, and it was definitely a brilliant fight, and all three fights were really competitive. So yeah, amazing card, and just my thoughts, and yeah, until next time.